What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so I'm going to cover a poll today. I don't normally cover these polls, but we're going to talk about something because this is quite shocking, if you ask me, and it begs a question. Is this really needed? What is going on in this political moment right now? The political landscape of this country. What are we seeing right now? Violence. And the vast majority of it's coming from one side, folks. Check this out. More Americans now say violence may be needed to get us back on track, according to a survey. That is right. So what does that actually mean? They don't really expound upon that, so I figured I would. What does that actually mean? Well, you know, there's lawful violence, like self-defense. Then you've got the monopoly on violence, which generally the military or the police, any sort of law enforcement, they generally have the monopoly on violence. They have overwhelming amounts of violence. And I think that's what they're talking about here, is using the police, or at least that's what I would be led to believe, right? Because when we're talking about like civil unrest, that type of violence, like chaos, violations of the law type of violence, that would never, ever get any sort of country back on track. As a matter of fact, that's devolving into civil war, for crying out loud, which, in case you didn't know, folks, we are currently in the middle of. It's not a militarized civil war, but we are in a cultural civil war right now between the multicultural democracy and our actual constitutional republic. People that want to keep what we have, that want to keep this country together, that like this country, that think this is the greatest nation on earth, versus these people that think that anybody and everybody can come from anywhere and do whatever the hell you want to do. Morals be damned, folks. That's what we're up against right now. And it's truly insane. I mean, you've got Democrats right now manufacturing their own crisis. Right? They're getting out there on TV talking about, oh, well, Donald Trump, the government shutdown right now is just cruelty for the sake of being cruel. Now, in what world does that make any sense? Are you serious? You're not going to articulate any sort of argument here that you can make as to why Republicans are being cruel? No, you're not. And I wonder why that is. Because maybe it's because their demands to give criminal aliens, illegal immigrants even, which are two different things, by the way, government subsidized health care. Oh, and they're going to tell you, oh, well, you know, on the ACA, no criminal aliens are, you know, it's not appropriated here for any criminal aliens to get. No, that's not true, folks. Right? Go look at some of the news. There's plenty of news articles out there of, you know, this state, and it's always blue states. Oh, they just passed a law to give criminal aliens, that's right, criminal aliens, not just migrants, not just illegal migrants, but criminal aliens, free government subsidized health care. Now, the state government health care, they would not exist if it were not for the federal government. The federal government subsidizes the state's health care systems, essentially. There's, you know, state health care. So, yes, they are. Definitely, criminal aliens are getting federal government subsidized health care. And what they want to do is they demanded that they keep that health care. And Republicans said no. That's why the government shut down. And Democrats refuse to capitulate to any, you know, they want their demands and that's it. It's insane what's going on. Then they manufacture, oh, it's Republicans just being cruel. But let's get into this, folks. Nearly a third of Americans suggested some violence could be justified in order to get the U.S. back on track, according to a new survey. The NPR PBS News Marist poll published this week found that 30% of respondents either strongly agree or agree that Americans may have to resort to violence in order to steer the country in the right direction. That is compared to the 19% who said the same in a March 2024 survey. A large majority of U.S. adults, 70%, say they either disagree or strongly disagree that the nation should resort to violence, the poll shows. Concerns around political violence and protection of free speech have swirled in recent weeks after the deadly shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in Utah and Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota, and since President Trump faced 2 assassination attempts during his 2024 campaign. Now, you love how they just slid that whole Minnesota thing in there, and you love how they just they're sliding in the political violence. They're adding that on top. Yeah, well, you know what? They don't want to talk about that much because a YouGov poll, a recent YouGov poll, found that 55% of liberal-leaning people in this country, registered Democrats essentially, 55% either agree or strongly agreed that political violence is okay. Now, I was kind of shocked at the Republican respondents because only 77% said, no, this is not good. Political violence is never the answer. Only 77%. I was kind of shocked by that. I was shocked it wasn't much higher. Because political violence is never the answer, folks. It's never the answer. Now, self-defense, but that's not political violence, is it? No, it's not. That's not what we're talking about here. But 55%, that's insane. 60%. There was a poll back after Trump got assassinated. 60% of Democrats pretty much thought that, yeah, that's fine, that if Donald Trump gets assassinated, they're just fine with that. Elon Musk, 49% of Democrats thought that it was okay to take out Elon Musk. Who is the party of violence here? Like, seriously. And then they want to browbeat you over the head talking about, oh, well, the vast majority of political violence in this country comes from the right. And then they use these manipulated statistics, basically, because where do they get those from? Oh, I don't know. Prison data. Yeah, when they have to resort to adding prison data to political violence. Oh, because why? Why is that? Because, it's white supremacists taking people up, murdering people in jail. That's considered political violence. And yet, I think it's Aaron Danielson in Portland during the George Floyd riots, which, by the way, none of that was counted as political violence. Aaron Danielson, it's clear on video. Hey, we got a Trump supporter here. Bang, bang. That's not counted on the political violence. They don't consider Antifa. As a matter of fact, if you go look into the statistics on that poll right there, where they say, the vast majority of political violence comes from the right. Any anti-government violence, and that means all this anti-ICE, all this terrorism that's been going on against ICE. January 6th, of course, the summer of love, because they were burning down federal buildings and police offices. All of that violence, that's considered right-wing. Like, are you kidding me about this? That's why when they have to take leftist violence and add that to the right and then browbeat you and say, oh, well, this is the right. Yeah, hang on. Let's claim both sides here. And then once we do that, after one of your people get taken out and we see a complete and utter escalation of political violence coming from exclusively one side, we're going to tell you, oh, it's both sides. And then we're going to tell you, hey, look at this data over here. As a matter of fact, the most of it comes from your side. Therefore, we're justified. We're just defending ourselves, according to Democrats. And then guess what they want to do? If you guys didn't see my last video, Senator Booker going to get up there and make this disgusting speech talking about we need to work across the aisle. All this talk about political violence is nonsense. We need to work together to find solutions. They want to browbeat you and then make you compromise, folks. Do you think they're willing to do this? I know I've gotten way off the beaten path, folks. Let's finish this thing out because it's not very long. Trump and Republicans have blasted Democrats and the left for what they argue is heightened rhetoric against the administration's policies. Another poll from late last month found that more than 7 in 10 U.S. voters believe the U.S. is in a political crisis following Kirk's assassination. The NPR-PBS Marist poll was conducted on September 22nd through the 26th, featuring 1,477 people. It has a margin of error of 3.1 percentage points. That is right, folks. So it's not a very long news article, and I just wanted to cover that and talk about political violence because it's truly insane what's going on right now. It's truly insane that the Democrats are willing to shut down the government to get criminal aliens free government subsidized health care and then blame it on Republicans. The rhetoric is continuing, folks. Once again, I keep hearing all these people talking about this, and, it sounds so one-sided. But when you look at all the facts, when you look at everything, lay it all out, folks. Once again, I laid this out pretty good yesterday, my arguments for the government shutdown. Republicans are not going nearly far enough. So Republicans are in compromise mode, right? They're keeping the spending levels the same as it was under Joe Biden. And Democrats, what do they want? They want government subsidized health care for criminal aliens. And Republicans refuse to capitulate to that whim. Because those people are not supposed to be here, folks. Why would we give government subsidized health care to these people? It makes absolutely no sense. And then Democrats are going to call Republicans cruel? I'm sorry. You guys have lost your freaking mind. You're going to manufacture a crisis and then blame the other side for it. Folks, we have major problems in this country with the Democratic Party in particular. And look, I hate to be a partisan guy. I don't like it whatsoever. I don't like just blaming one side because it's almost never just all the blame on one side, right? We can agree to that. But right now, in this current moment, Democrats are just insane. That's all I got to say about that, y'all. It's truly, truly astonishing what we're seeing coming from the Democratic Party. Blows my freaking mind, y'all. But y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got on this one. Y'all don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video if you could, anywhere and everywhere that you can. That would be appreciated. Also, if you look right below the video, you'll see a join button. Click that for me. Sign up and become a member and help this channel expand and grow. But that's all I got. You guys remember that God is always with us, and He loves each and every one of you out there. So y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.